Hi, we're Cutting Class Podcast. Are you interested in skinny dipping with Mao Zedong?
How about listening to sexy and suicidal subliminal messages?
Maybe destroying an entire city with flaming birds?
Or how about having a bowl of anti-pornography cereal? We're two high school history teachers that like to cover the lesser-known stories of American and world history.
You can check us out on iTunes or anywhere else that you get your podcasts or cuttingclasspodcast.com.
All right, we're up and running.
Oh, are we? Hello.
We sure are.
And welcome. Friends and enemies. It's you. An unofficial. Oops, sorry. God damn it.
You can never get this right. An unofficial Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast.
What's my name?
Liz.
Oh, what's your name?
Samantha.
There you go. We're here.
We know exactly what we're doing.
To solve mysteries. Except that we're not gonna. It's really more of a rewatch podcast.
Yeah, we really don't actually solve mysteries. That's become kind of an unofficial tagline for this podcast, is solve some mysteries, bitches. But, like, we're not actually going to solve any mysteries. Because
maybe we will. Wow, I'm really tired. Okay.
Liz did Twin Cities Zine Fest yesterday, which was a lot of extroverting. And even though making a podcast probably doesn't seem like extroverting, it kind of is.
For us, it is, at least.
You're talking.
It takes a lot of
energy.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're a little depleted. Liz is a little depleted. I'm always depleted just because life, but...
Because Samantha is a busy working woman.
Well, we're both serious businesswomen now.
We're both serious businesswomen. We're out there wheeling and dealing in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to go do tomorrow?
What?
I am buying a gumball machine off of Craigslist.
Hell yeah! I knew that you were thinking about it. I'm really excited you're actually doing it.
I know.
Do you have a destination for it?
I think it's going to be in the acupuncture clinic.
Nice. Tell our friends and listeners.
No, I think I'm going to just leave it at that.
Okay.
I think you just get a hint of my new
business venture
in the world of gumball machines.
I assume it'll be on
machines.
your Instagram, so people can follow.
True.
People can follow you there to see what that's going to be all about.
Definitely follow me at Everybody Likes Liz on Instagram. We have a show Instagram too. That's Perhaps It's You.
It's you that I don't update as often as I should.
But if you want to see stories about Samantha's dogs, you'll go there.
Yep.
If you want to know why the hell I decided I needed to buy a, not like that gumball machine you have in your house as a kid, like a real gumball machine.
Yep.
You're going to need to follow me there. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, just leave it as a mystery.
That's a mystery you could solve if you won't have Instagram, but...
The other day, so can't really have caffeine, and the other day I bought a kombucha and didn't really pay attention to it. And it was made with black tea. Ooh. So I was up until 6 a.m.
Oh, God.
Literally just lying in bed like... Wide awake, thinking about gumball machines.
As you do.
Yeah. And, yeah, my new business venture just... Hi! I wasn't even, mad about it because I was, so caffeinated that I swear I was just lying there in the dark, smiling. Oh, God. Okay.
We've all been there. Do you have any updates?
Updates? What are those? Oh, when we have something to say about the show? No, I don't.
I have an update. I want to thank whoever sent us some cheesies from our Amazon wish list.
Oh, yeah.
I posted in our Facebook group. No one came forward. I still don't know who sent them. You didn't leave a note, but I wanted to tell you, whoever you are, you're an angel, and we love you, and we ate the cheesies. They're so good.
They're so good.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping us alive and also feeding our souls.
Yes. Whoever you are, thank you, thank you.
If you want to send us cheesies, which of course you do, you could go to our website, it's perhapsityou.com, in the, contact section, there's some links. One of them is a wish list. Mm-hmm. You could send us stuff, like cheesies or socks.
We put some random things on there. Yeah, Liz is using this podcast to keep herself stocked on dry shampoo.
You know what? No one has bought us dry shampoo, but I'm leaving it on there.
I mean...
Because you know what? You always need it.
Sometimes you don't have time to wash your hair before you record.
Yeah.
And you gotta throw in some dry shampoo. It's definitely podcast related.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, whoever you are. We really appreciate the cheesies. They were delicious as always. I'm glad the cheesy factory is still up and running despite the incident with the car. No, the fire.
The
fire.
The car was the giant candy store.
Yes.
They're also up and running.
We were just at Minnesota's largest candy store. and we bought a lot of candy. I spent more money than anyone should ever spend on candy, but it was wonderful, and I've been eating it.
I spent a lot of money and was honestly sad I did not have more cash on. Is cash only? Isn't that weird? So I was like, I wish I would buy even more.
Yes.
Because it adds up quick.
It really does.
You throw a few things in your basket and suddenly it's $60.
Uh-huh. But I got a lot of unique candy. I didn't find the Starburst gummy snakes, but I can just get those on Amazon, so it's fine. Yeah, they got hit by a vehicle, probably a drunk driver.
They really went off the road, man. That's not right next to the road.
It's not right next to the road. It's also like
there's a huge ditch. Those pumpkins that are in there.
There's pumpkins everywhere. I don't know, but they direct hit to the candy store, and they're
the
still
cheesy factory had a fire,
yes.
Which friend of the party Arden pointed out must have smelled so delicious.
Those burning cheesies, man. It's like a campfire of cheesies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I don't have another update except to say I hope you enjoyed our Flat Earth episode last week. If you're not a patron, that was new to you. We released a Patreon bonus episode
from the archives.
Yep. That's one of my favorites that we've done, I have to say.
It's very interesting.
As painful as it was to go through.
I'll never be the same. So be thankful I did that for you.
Yeah.
I think it changed my brain chemistry.
Absolutely.
But we're working on should we say what it is?
Yeah.
We were, instead of recording a new episode, we were working on a very special episode with our friend Rob over at Our Strange Skies. So that is going to be out
sometime in October. How should I say? Our audio is bad. And I've apologized to Rob several times. He seems to think it's no big deal. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear us. Because we don't know what we're doing.
We have such a struggle with recording with other. I know people have podcasts where they're not in the same room every week. I have no idea how they do it. We have such a struggle with remote recording.
We really do. We've never been able to get it right. So that's that. But Rob was very gracious to have us on. We had a great time recording with him. I hope the episode comes out. If it doesn't, it's not Rob's fault. It's 100% our fault.
Obviously our fault.
Because we can't technology. We can barely do what we have here. But
it's amazing we do this every week.
But look for that. We are talking about Unsolved Mysteries. We each picked really bummer episodes, but it was still strangely fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Rob's a nice guy. His podcast is great. But
so look for that. We'll let you know when that's out, but that's what we were working on. So we hope you enjoyed getting your brain melted about Flat Earth.
Yeah. Isn't that fun?
I mean, how could you not?
Those are the kinds of things you get if you give us a little bit of money on Patreon. Just $1 a month will get you an extra episode.
It's such a good
deal.
And
we're usually not melting your brain and making you lose faith in humanity.
Most of them aren't quite that painful, but I do think that was a really interesting topic, and there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there was.
And it's the sort of thing we wouldn't have time to go into on the regular show.
Exactly.
Because we got a lot of mysteries to get through. Well, we have 4 today, which is the perfect number of mysteries. Mm-hmm. We're on season 4, episode 12.
Yep.
And we're starting with a wanted. So we hear that Michael St. Clair, a 2-time convicted murderer, escaped from the Bryant County Jail in Durant, Oklahoma. He also, while escaping, released a fellow inmate, Dennis Reese, who had been awaiting trial for robbery and murder. Then the two of them, like a shitty version of Thelma and Louise, go on a crime spree across 8 states, leaving at least 4 dead.
Fun.
Yeah. Whew. So we learned that St. Clair had his uncle killed and then murdered the hitman to cover up the tracks.
That seems like more murdering than's necessary.
Maybe he couldn't get close to his uncle. Like, you think, well, why didn't you just kill your uncle then? Yeah. But maybe he couldn't get close to his uncle. So he hired a hitman. They're not very clear on this.
This guy just likes killing people, too.
Yeah, clearly.
That'll become apparent later.
And I think him and his uncle were involved in some sort of organized crime, and there was, like, a struggle for power. Anyway, so that's what he was originally in prison for before he escaped. Then a reporter comes to talk to us, and he has what I'm literally calling the best mustache we've seen in a while.
It really is.
This was reporter Tom Mullins.
Large
it's like
and in charge.
A ferret. It's huge.
It's massive.
It takes up...
Not very symmetrical, but still quality.
No, not at all. And I had to draw it big because it was so big. And it just has so much presence. It's a star in and of itself.
It does have a lot of presence.
It's like you can't look away.
He's, undisputed MVM of this episode.
If you're ever watching a movie with Marilyn Monroe and you're just like, yeah, she really has this sort of magnetism. You can't stop looking at her.
Are you saying this is the Marilyn Monroe of mustaches?
Yeah, I am. Screen presence. This mustache. The best mustache we've seen in a while. Okay. So the reason we're hearing from Tom Mullins is because he gets a call from St. Clair because he wants people to know that he will not be taken alive and that he will, quote, kill anyone with a badge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he thought that meant they wouldn't try to arrest him, but...
I don't know what his plan was. That they were going to be like, oh, you're...
Oh, all
okay.
right then. Just go around murdering people. I guess it was just to instill some fear, maybe give him a little bit of an edge.
I think so. I think also he was just like high on his own shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
he's just bragging.
He's on the run. He's taunting the police. It's all that.
I'm going to call this guy with the fabulous mustache. I'm going to let him know what's up.
Well, and I think this reporter had been following his trial and reporting on it. So he says, I was the logical choice for him to reach out to. He
talks in this very quiet, monotone way. You would think a guy with a mustache like that would be bold and boisterous.
The mustache is doing it for him.
Yeah, he talks kind of like this. It's very somber. It's very low. I guess the mustache is doing all the talking. Mm-hmm. You're right. So we don't really know what happens in between that phone call and 3 weeks later, when they show up in Kentucky, a state trooper tries to pull them over because they're seen fleeing from a flaming vehicle.
Nothing wrong could be happening here.
Yeah, which I have to say is pretty suspicious activity. So, but they shoot at the trooper. The trooper isn't killed, but they get away. And then their vehicle is found because in them getting away, they popped 2 of the tires. So they had to ditch that and get another vehicle. So what they find out is that car, well, it's really a pickup truck. That pickup truck belonged to 56-year-old Francis Brady. He had been a father of 3. He had disappeared 12 hours earlier after catching a check at a convenience store. And they killed him just to steal his truck, and that's shitty.
He was a retired distillery worker. He's just like a normal dude trying to live his life, cashing a check for not enough money, I'm sure.
He's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I swear they could have just taken his truck.
Yeah.
There's no reason to kill this person at all. His body is found 12 miles north in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. He was handcuffed and shot in the head execution style.
Which was the exact same way that St. Clair's uncle was had been killed. So pretty obvious what's going on here.
So fucking unnecessary. Okay, so then the truck that was on fire, if you recall, they were fleeing away from a flaming vehicle. That truck had belonged to a paramedic named Tim Keeling. He had also vanished after visiting a convenience store. His body is found in a ditch outside of Clayton, New Mexico. Why? This is such senseless violence. It's terrible.
And how far did they even get in that truck? Like, it's just take the truck.
They drove him, and why did they drive his body all the way to New Mexico? So weird. Okay. So then they later go on to rob a video store in Milan, Tennessee, where they murdered the clerk, a 20-year-old mother of 2.
So... And I think later they say they got like $100 from this or something.
She didn't give a shit about that video store. I guarantee it. Just take the money.
You did not need to murder her.
Absolutely not. It's awful. And then they go to another video store that's only 8 miles away, and they murder that clerk there too.
It's terrible.
I'm starting to think these aren't very good people.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. They are described as desperate and paranoid. And the public is warned that if you see them, you should not approach them yourself. You need to call the authorities. And I was like, don't worry. I would not be trying to apprehend these 2.
Yourself.
Yeah, no way.
This is a citizen's arrest. Yeah, no.
No. But we get a very brief update right afterwards that they were eventually captured and they were both convicted and given life sentences. And I believe they're still in prison.
Yep. Good riddance. One of them got sentenced to death, I think, but...
I don't think he was actually ever killed.
No.
Maybe he was. I don't know. But the point is, you don't have to worry about them. What a cut and dry case of guilt, man.
At the very beginning of the segment, Robert Stack went on at length about how these 2 are still out there. They could be at your door any second.
Actually, think of you watching this as like a 7-year-old.
Terrifying. That was my thought when I was watching it. I'm like, this is why everyone's
They're
traumatized.
out there, and we need your help because guess what? you better not work at a video store, and you better not go to a convenience store because you're going to get straight up murdered.
I think at one point Robert Stack even said something that was along the lines of, there's no telling when they'll strike next or something like that. It's just like, okay, now I know why everyone's traumatized by this show.
Better look under your bed before you go to sleep because you are screwed.
Pretty much.
I'm glad they were caught. They seem super guilty, and I feel really bad for all of their victims of their senseless crimes. I think they did just enjoy killing people because, they were killing people over like $100, $200, which they could have easily just taken.
Yes.
If you go into a video store and you threaten someone that's all 20 years old and has 2 children, you think she's not just going to go like, here, take the entire cash register.
And as many videos as you want.
Yeah,
I do not care.
These gumballs, they're free.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good and Plenty's, you like those? Take them. You're the one person that likes Good and Plenty's? Great. They're yours.
Here you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that case. It's not mysterious. It's very straightforward, but sad.
Yeah. All right. Next up, they're calling this one an unexplained death. I think you could have called this a fraud. You could have. There's not really a mystery in this one, but it's an interesting story.
I thought this was a very interesting story, actually.
Robert Stack starts out the segment by saying, "Next, a tale of deception and murder against the fading background of the Old South."
You got me hooked.
It's very poetic. So we're in the state of Tennessee. Robert Stack says, much of the American South, it is dotted with majestic antebellum estates. A type of aristocracy still thrives here, and Ellen McClung Berry is typical of that upper crust group.
He describes her as living in solitary splendor.
Yes, she lived in solitary splendor on a mountaintop outside of the city of Knoxville.
I think the phrase solitary splendor might be the most beautiful words I've ever heard.
I kind of want to live in solitary splendor.
On the top of a mountain in a big mansion and take tea outside in your giant straw hat.
Uh-huh.
The only thing that would be better would be being a reclusive corset maker that everyone hated. That was a previous episode. Go look it up.
All right, so her great-great-grandfather founded the city of Knoxville, so she was able to live a lavish life looking down upon the city from her sprawling mansion.
So beautiful.
A man named Arthur Ballard, who is cited as Ellen's friend, compares her to Mohammed.
Yeah, that was weird. This guy's weird.
This guy's a strange character. He says that she is one of the last grand dames of the old school, so she could sit atop her mountain and expect everyone to flock to her. Like Mohammed.
Uh-huh. He's also wearing this weird kind of like terry cloth sweatshirt thing.
Like it's like over a button-up shirt or something?
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
He did not get it at Just Sweats.
No, he did not.
It's a place he should have been shopping.
So one of the people who came to Ellen's mansion was a, quote, vaguely mysterious man.
They're like, yeah, we're not giving him the credit of being full-on mysterious. He's only vaguely mysterious. What shade from Robert Stack?
A little bit of shade. I think...
Do you consider me vaguely mysterious? Really, no, I'm not.
No.
I
Maybe
wish.
we're full-on mysterious.
I don't really think we are.
No, probably not.
Damn.
Lenny Briscoe is, like, smoking us out of here with his farts.
Oh my god.
He's so stinky. He's right below you. You don't smell that?
I think I'm a little stuffed up. Also, they're pointing in your direction.
That's probably why. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Lenny just burst in here while we were recording the Patreon episode, barked for like 2 minutes, and now has stolen Curtis's bed and is just lying here farting. If you're considering dog ownership...
That's what you have to look forward to.
Yeah.
Also, if you're joining the Lenny Briscoe fan club...
This is the kind of attitude you're supporting.
Yeah.
I hope you realize that. Which you should sign up, $2 a month. You get a photo of Lenny Briscoe.
Patreon.com/perhaps it's you. All right, so this vaguely mysterious man claimed to be from Denmark. He had been...
Where all vaguely mysterious people are from.
Yeah. He had been corresponding with Ellen Berry for more than 15 years, but the true nature of their relationship was not clear. Sometimes Ellen said that Dan was her godson. Sometimes she would say that he was a friend of her late son, Hugh.
Couldn't those both be true?
Yeah, they could be.
People were like, she kept changing her story, and I was like, maybe he's both her godson and a friend.
Could be. Arthur, Ellen's friend, says, I had the strangest gut feeling that this kid was bad news.
I mean, if a much younger man comes to the estate of a rich old lady and just
day her husband dies or whatever,
and just keeps hanging around.
It's definitely the same year
and never leaves. Yeah, I would find that suspicious as well.
He said, but he was making Ellen happy. Arthur says that he was happy that she was happy, and that he thought at least someone was on the mountain with her at night in case she fell or got sick. Marcia Robinson is a former aide to Ellen Barry. She thinks that Dan was taking the place of her son. Did I say this guy's name? It's Dan. What was his fucking last name?
I don't know.
Tondevold. Marcia says that she thinks that he was taking the place of her late son.
And then we learn about the late son, and then my brain exploded because the story suddenly gets so good and juicy.
It's extremely juicy and extremely dark. So Robert Stack says that Hugh left a, quote, dark stain on the family tree. Years earlier, he flew into a rage over his inheritance and turned a shotgun on his grandmother, shooting her to death.
Yep. But it keeps going.
We're not done. The judge ruled that Hugh was not competent to stand trial. There was a rumor that Hugh was lobotomized and sent to live in Mexico.
That was the part that I was like, wow, didn't see that coming.
No, not
this story has a lobotomy in it?
Yeah.
It is a little dark that I would delight in that, but it was an unexpected wrinkle. We've seen a few of these frauds where someone has a lot of money and someone suspicious comes, blah, 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 blah. So it was slightly ho-hum until we get to the son went into a murderous rage and possibly had a lobotomy. Well, and I was like, I'm listening.
Well, the other thing that makes this so salacious is that this is the Old South. This is an aristocratic family. Her great-grandfather founded Knoxville, Tennessee. You have to imagine they're very concerned about their appearances. Yeah. Suddenly their son kills the grandmother and then is possibly lobotomized and sent to live in Mexico. Wow.
The story has everything.
Wow. In 1963, Ellen and her husband received word that their son had died of pneumonia. Much later, Ellen hinted to someone that he had actually died by suicide. According to friends, Hugh's body was never returned to the United States. When her husband died in 1978, Ellen Barry was left alone. Very conveniently, this vaguely mysterious stranger, supposedly from Denmark, stepped in to fill the void that same year. Dan Tondevold moved into her guest house and took over the day-to-day operations of her estate, which was called Barrymount.
I wish I had a guest house people could just move into.
I know, right? How luxurious.
It does sound very luxurious.
Soon, Dan had made himself indispensable to Ellen Barry. The quote was, not only was Tondevold running Barrymount, but he was running her. So Ellen signed anything Dan put in front of her, and she
That's
started
always bad. Don't do that.
Bankrolling his ridiculous Tennessee walking horse hobby, which reportedly cost millions and millions of dollars.
Samantha, if you had a rich old woman on the hook, is this what you would do with her money?
No, I can't. Well, maybe with other horses. The Tennessee walking horses is such a fucking bougie. Oh, I hate it so much. Also, those horses are abused.
Wow, that was a wrinkle I wasn't expecting.
So did you see the video footage of the horse that was doing the high stepping?
Yeah.
The way they accomplish that is by putting caustic chemicals on the horse's hooves.
Oh, no.
And then putting little chains around them so that every time the chains hit the blisters, they pick their feet up really high. Not everyone. People out there have Tennessee walking horses that they don't do this to, so don't think that everyone does it. But they're called the Big Lick Tennessee walking horses, and it's very painful and very horrible, and it's only rich people do this.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, he apparently had seven, a stable full of 7 horses.
Was she just called Barrymount 1 through 7?
Barrymount 1, 2, 3.
I cannot imagine
4, 5,
spending
6, 7.
$20,000 on a horse, which they show some reenactment of him on the phone, wheeling and dealing. So he's paying $20,000 a horse, maybe more. I can't imagine spending all that money on an animal and then naming it Barrymount 3. What? And then you're like, stable boy, go fetch me Barrymount 3.
I mean, these clearly are just objects, right? It's just a status symbol.
I hate it.
Yeah. I don't know. Go get a pony instead.
A little mini pony?
Yeah, I want one so bad.
You should get one.
I would love to have a little mini pony. A little mini horse and a matching miniature donkey. Not to do anything with, just to pet.
Yeah.
And feed carrots and stuff?
Yeah, of course. You'll have like your own little petting zoo in the backyard.
Definitely not Tennessee walking horses. The interesting thing about Tennessee walking horses is that they actually have a natural gait that's extremely comfortable.
Yeah.
And, like, you don't need to, like, do this, like, big, like, ridiculous... Like, they're very, like, a smooth ride. So,
Yeah.
like, some people that have, like, back problems sometimes buy them to, like, ride because it's not very bouncy.
Yeah.
So it's a shame that people, like,
That's so
abuse
weird.
them in this way. Okay, anyway. In April 1982, she granted Dan power of attorney.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
Real bad idea.
Dan convinced Ellen to take a winter vacation to Charleston. Before departing, he placed a classified ad in the newspaper requesting a chauffeur. The ad was interesting because it specified that he was looking for men who were single and asked to send a photograph.
I thought this was for a different reason than it turns out to be.
Yeah, well...
I thought this was for a sexy reason.
It could have been a sexy reason. There's a
thought he was
conspiracy
like-
around it.
he
I
was
think
like-
it's more likely a sexy reason.
Okay. All right.
I just think these people that are, like, hoity-toity
Sure.
couldn't, like, wrap their head around that he was going to be gone for 4 months and he kind of wanted someone to come with who maybe wasn't Ellen Barry. All right.
Right.
At the end of their 4-month vacation, they made plans to fly home. The plan was for Ellen and her aide to fly back to Tennessee. This is not the chauffeur. I originally thought that's what they were talking about because they called her aide a hired companion. But it's actually, that was like a woman who took care of her. It was like a nurse almost.
Yeah.
Okay, so they made plans to fly home, and then Dan was to drive their Mercedes back to Berrymount. And as you may have guessed by now, Dan was not returning to Berrymount. Ellen and her aide returned home to find that the power had been shut off to the estate because they had stopped paying the bills. And they had stopped paying the bills because her money was gone. In addition to spending all her money, they discovered that Dan had borrowed over $80,000 against her estate, so for the first time in her life, Ellen Barry had a mortgage to pay, but she had no way of paying it.
It's rough.
Meanwhile, Dan Tondevolt turned up in an exclusive resort 100 miles away. Unaware that his secret was out, he continued to live his life of luxury. However, the credit cards he had been using were over their limit at this point, and he was turned away. Shortly after, a suicide note was discovered in his hotel room. His body is then found in a swamp nearby. The antique gun used as the weapon lay nearby. A dog was also killed.
But why?
Shot in the head, and it lay near his body. I have no idea. Was it his dog? I don't know. They didn't say that it was. They just said a dog. And I think that's maybe one of the things that fuels the conspiracy, that I think no one knew
Where this dog
where
came
this
from?
dog came from.
So sad.
So there is supposedly a mystery here. Some people are skeptical that this was Dan Tondevold. Tondevold had apparently never had a social security card. I don't know why that means that this wasn't him, but authorities honored his wishes as they were spelled out in his suicide note, which was to immediately cremate him. Arthur thinks that the ad for the chauffeur is ridiculous. He says, why wouldn't you just find one in Charleston? He thinks that Dan was trying to find a look-alike. There is a hilarious reenactment of
God.
Dan shooting his look-alike.
So daintily.
Very daintily. He has this like polo shirt and the sweater over his shoulder,
And he lets
tied
the
in the
looking
front.
like go in front of him, and then he's just like,
Pretty much. There is another theory that Dan Tondevold is actually Hugh Barry, that they were the same person, and that he was like living this
the
fake
son,
life.
the supposedly lobotomized son.
However, an Unsolved Mysteries researcher uncovered a yearbook from Dan's high school. He is in the yearbook listed, quote from Robert Stack, as not surprisingly the president of the Thespian Club. People think that his Danish accent was an act. Ellen Barry eventually moved into a small apartment in Jefferson City, Tennessee. She passed away in 1992 at the age of 98. If the unidentified body in the swamp wasn't his, Dan has yet to be found. So, it was him, probably. I think he just knew the jig was up. He didn't have any money. He knew he was found out, or he was going to be found out soon.
I don't think he had a good long-term plan.
No. This Arthur guy was like, I don't see why he would have gone through all the trouble to get all that money just to kill himself, but he didn't have the money anymore. The credit cards had run out.
Yeah, I think he just spent
the money
it all.
had run out.
I think he went through it probably a lot faster than he thought he was going to.
Right. And he went through an extraordinary amount of money. Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So, that was it. I mean, he had to have known he'd be going to jail.
Right.
Probably, they were going to figure it out. So,
I mean, I might have bought this body double thing if he turned up later, but he never does.
No,
and it's been a long time at this point.
So probably.
And also, his yearbook photo was like pretty cute.
Yeah, it was actually.
And I want to be an Unsolved Mysteries researcher.
I know,
which I guess we are, but not really.
Sort of, not really.
This person was literally hired by Unsolved Mysteries. Like, go find this person, and they like went through.
And
all
they
these
did some
old,
sleuthing.
Old yearbooks. That's amazing.
They found some like obscure mention of his hometown and went back and found the yearbook, and then there he was. So
that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
I bet they got some microfiche out. I love it.
Probably.
Love it. Okay.
Right. Are you ready to talk about A Lost Love?
I'm ready to talk about A Lost Love. This one takes place in Vancouver, British Columbia. So we go back to March 1945. We meet Annie Curry, who says goodbye to her husband and 2 sons. They are being divorced after 5 years of marriage, but the husband has full custody. So she's like watching the car back out with her 2 sons. She's like tearfully waving goodbye. And we learn that Jim Curry, one of the sons, is searching for his mother after 40 years.
This one's so sad.
It is pretty sad. Jim is a public defender and ironically often finds people's lost relatives, particularly for people who are on death row. He puts them in touch with people he hasn't seen for a long time. They haven't seen for a long time. So he's like, yeah, it's just kind of bitterly ironic that I'm able to find other people's families, but I'm not able to find my own mother. We learn that his parents met during World War II, in which his dad was a soldier. She gave birth. I think they had been married for like maybe a year at that point and was sent to live with his parents. So she's living with his parents for a year. She's got a small baby. She's very isolated. She doesn't know anyone else.
Well, what happened was he was stationed overseas during World War II, and she was somehow near a bomb that fell while she was pregnant.
Oh, I missed that.
And she miscarried as a result. She was thrown to the ground during a bomb blast. And so after she miscarried, obviously traumatic, she got pregnant again. And when she was pregnant again, they thought it would be best if she got out of the country. So he sent her to live with his parents in Vancouver.
Yes. So she's living with them for a year before he returns from war. However, when he came back, the war had changed him. He had seen some really horrible shit, and he just wasn't the same person that he had been.
Yeah, I think Jim says that he closed himself off emotionally to protect himself.
Yes, and he said something about how you're just not the same after you see your friend blown to 1,000 pieces before your very eyes, which is
true.
Yeah.
I don't know that it excuses what he does later, but...
Yeah, it
offers some explanation, and Jim is very forgiving.
Yeah, he's very forgiving to both of his parents, but I think it sort of is relevant information to see why this marriage didn't work out.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, when they met, they were young and in love, but when they were able to be together again, they just weren't the same people anymore.
Yeah.
So he comes back from the war and he gets a job as a customs official, which involves him working a lot at night for whatever reason. So he's gone a lot, and Annie starts having an affair with an older neighbor friend who I think was like more available than her husband was.
Well, he was married, but I think he was available
more
for
emotionally available.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're both cheating, and a relative found out about it and told Dan. He immediately sued her for divorce and full custody of the children. And because she was the, like, I don't know, the party in the wrong, or however you phrase it, in the divorce, he got full custody of the children, and she wasn't even given visitation rights. No. It was totally up to him.
Well, and despite the fact that the judge recognized that she was a good person and just made a mistake and was probably, in some ways, tricked by this older man.
Right.
But they still offered her no legal way to get custody. It was just up to him.
I'm sure this is not how this would go now. This was quite a long time ago, but it is really sad.
Right, because he, I think, was kind of vindictive about it.
Yeah, because he gets full custody of the children and then sends one to an orphanage. Yeah. Like, why even bother?
I don't know.
Like, I'm sure Annie would have kept that child rather than have it sent to an orphanage, but she doesn't have any right to say anymore.
Yeah.
And we get this really, like, horrible reenactment of her packing up the suitcase for her kid to, like, send them off forever.
I know.
And she's like, oh, are you going to need your long johns? You're like, yeah, I bet you. And she's, like, trying to put on a brave face. It was just awful.
It was so upsetting.
So, yeah, we see the dad, like, pull away with the kids again. She's waving goodbye. We learn that, like, he very quickly gets rid of the youngest son, not the son we meet in this segment, and he brings Jim to LA. So the last time he sees his mother is before they're moving to Los Angeles. He's like allowed to come and say goodbye to his mother, but he doesn't even remember like any hugs or anything. He just remembers it being sad. And the reenactment has like Annie saying, "But he needs me, I'm his mother," and the dad being like, "No, he doesn't." It's like, "But he needs his brother." Like, "No, he doesn't." And that's like it.
Yeah, it looked very cruel.
Like, end of discussion. So Jim felt throughout his life that he wasn't really allowed to say that he missed his mother or wondered what she was up to, and he wasn't allowed any contact with her. So it wasn't until his dad died in 1989 that he started seriously looking for her. And as part of that, I can't tell, I don't remember if this was from the update or part of the segment, but he finds out that he finds his brother, who is married.
It was part of the segment.
Okay. So he was married and still living in Vancouver. However, his brother has no memory because he was just a little kid.
Yeah, he was adopted by a family.
So he's loyal to his
on.
adoptive parents. He doesn't have any memory of Jim or his mother. So this was sort of a plea for him to at last be put in touch with his mother. Unfortunately, no.
I think he does get in touch with some distant relatives, but
Yes.
he never gets to meet his mother.
So after the broadcast, he's put in touch with some distant relative, but that person is no longer in touch with his mother either. All he knows is that his mother was also looking for him. But if she was still alive, she would be in her 90s. Like,
Yeah, it's unlikely.
It's crazy to me that in this day and age, he can't find her.
Well, and there was a quote he said because he works for the public defender's office. He is typically assigned to inmates that are facing death sentences. And he says as a part of that work, he's an advocate for them. He's not like he's not a public defender. He's an investigator and also an advocate. And as a part of that work, he will sometimes go and find relatives of these people. So they maybe were adopted themselves. They're facing a death sentence. They want to find their family. And he's been able to do that. But he's never been able to find his own mother.
It's so sad. It's really a very bitter, heartbreaking story about just sort of the ramifications of war, even in non-deadly circumstances.
Well, and he says growing up, his father never wanted to talk about his mother. He never felt like he could ask questions about her. And he didn't, even the mention of him trying to find his mother upset his father so much that he waited till after his father died to actually start looking in earnest. And by this point, his mother would have been so elderly, it's unlikely that she was alive.
He was really deprived of this person who loved him, and he loved her. And it's so senseless.
It's really upsetting. This is not a happy last love. This is not a happy last love, although I thought Jim was a delightful person.
Yeah, Jim seemed really cool.
Really upset that he never, got to see his mother.
So that's a better one.
Yeah.
Don't recommend, honestly.
But the next one is a much better last love.
Yeah, this one's better.
So this is a last love during the Great Depression. So Charlie Best, his wife Elva, and their 3 children, Zella Mae, Carl, and Verlin.
Zella Mae is such a good name.
Zella Mae is a fantastic name. They lived in Tennessee. They managed to stave off the hardship of the Depression by growing watermelons and tobacco. One day, a lone stranger with 2 young girls sought refuge in Charlie's farmhouse. The man called himself Tom Underwood, and he was looking for a place for his daughters to sleep for the night. Zella Mae was a teenager and remembers Tom asking for a bed for his girls to sleep in. Tom said that he could sleep in the barn, but her father said, no, you can sleep in the house with them.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
Because this is a total stranger.
For sure.
And he's trusting them. The reason this guy's offering to sleep in the barn is like, look, I know you might not trust me, but have some sympathy for these young girls.
Right.
I'm willing to sleep in the barn if you'll give them a bed. And he's like, no, you can sleep in here too, man.
Right. This family had nothing. They're going to sleep on the hard ground otherwise.
Yeah.
They're just literally walking around. So Tom had fallen on hard times. His daughters were Madeline, who was 9, and Ada, who was 7. They had been traveling for a long time as he had been searching for work. Their mother had died years earlier. They spent the night with and Zella Mae cooked them breakfast the next morning. Tom told Charlie that he was taking the girls to live with friends while he continued to search for work. As they left, Zella Mae asked her father why they hadn't just offered to keep the girls themselves. By pure coincidence, however, Zella Mae happened upon the family a few days later. They were coming back through the area because they had been turned away by the friends Tom had been hoping would take the girls. Zella May convinced Tom to come back to her house. Charlie agreed to care for the girls until Tom could get back on his feet. Zella May is interviewed for the show, this is years later, and she says that times were hard, but her father was willing to take them in and to share what they had to eat. She said it wasn't much, but they never went hungry.
These are such good people.
Amazing people.
This is so sweet.
Really a heartwarming story. So Madeline and Ada became part of the family immediately. Charlie treated them as if they were his own children. They shared in everything with the other kids. They're described as immediately fitting in. I think the third sibling had just passed away by this point, but Carl and Zella May are interviewed for the show, and they said that they don't remember any sadness. It was just happy. They were immediately part of the family, and that they didn't feel like they were strangers in the house.
Yeah, this also showed me how you shuck corn, which I didn't know.
You never shucked corn?
No.
Oh.
No.
I mean, it's not a fun chore, but you do get corn at the end of it.
I literally wrote down, oh, that's how you shuck corn. Because that's one of the chores all the children are doing together.
Oh, yeah.
Just me being a city mouse, not knowing how these things work.
So Madeline became especially close with her surrogate mother. Elva had a rare nerve disorder, and it made it difficult for her to care for herself, but Madeline would pitch in and help.
This seemed like a really nice, happy life.
It seemed like it was.
And they were so generous to share their, like, meager resources with these children who really needed it.
They didn't, I mean, even though they weren't facing as much hardship as a lot of other people, they didn't have a lot to eat.
Yeah, so lean times.
They were more than willing to share it with these two girls.
So sweet.
And they were happy about it. Carl and Zella May described their childhood with their adopted sisters as nothing but happy. They remember their father skipping with Madeline and Ada. The girls weren't strangers in their home. However, 26 months after the girls arrived to stay with the Bests, Tom returned to take his daughter back. Tom was in a hurry and refused to wait until Charlie returned home. It was only Zella May there, but he insisted that he take the girls now. It was difficult for Zella May to say goodbye to the girls, especially so quickly. She was really sad because she had always wanted a sister, but she knew her parents weren't having any more children. So suddenly she had two sisters.
Yeah.
And they were really a part of the family. And now this guy just showed up and wanted to take him back.
And she was like, can't we wait till my dad gets back so we can at least say goodbye? And he's like, no, we got to go now.
Mm-hmm. So today she believes that Tom was afraid that her father wouldn't let him take the girls back, and that's why he was in such a hurry. Shortly after, the Bests received a strange letter from Madeline and Ada. Their father had left them at an orphanage in Nashville. Charlie immediately contacted the orphanage to see if he could adopt the girls, but by that time, Tom had returned to once again take the children back.
It's really sad.
Yeah, and that was the last time the Best family heard from Madeline and Ada. At the time of the Unsolved Mysteries broadcast, Zella May and her father still live within 10 miles of the old farmhouse. Zella May was 66 and her father was 91. And we visit him. He's sitting on his porch. He has his best suit on with a little blanket over his lap. And he seemed like the sweetest old man.
Yeah.
And he was clearly a great person.
And apparently he's been asking about these girls like his whole time.
For years, and he still thinks of them as little girls, and he will often ask for updates. I think they had told him that, hey, we're going on this show, we're going to try and find them. And when they go to visit him, he asks, is there any news on the girls? It's so sweet, it makes me want to cry. So Zella May wants to reunite her father with Madeline and Ada. And the update is that the night the broadcast aired, Ada Underwood was watching. She was
just
now
amazing.
I know, I have chills. So she was now 59 years old and living in Indiana. Sadly, Madeline had already passed away, but Ada was eager to be reunited with the Best family, and 10 days later, she traveled to Tennessee to be reunited with Charlie Best and his two living children, Zella May and Carl. Sadly, 8 weeks later, Charlie passed away. But his family said that the reunion gave him a lot of peace in his final days. So that's like
sweet.
The sweetest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I love these lost loves, and I kind of wish that's like all this podcast was about.
Sometimes you hear stories of elderly people are sort of holding on for something, and then once that there's a peace made with it, then they're able
to let go
and pass on. And I wonder if this is one of those cases where...
Oh, I think it is for sure.
Once he knew that...
They were okay.
Yeah.
That they had gone on to live a happy life.
That was like... He Yeah, I could rest with that.
You get to see the reunion. They film it. And at one point he says that you're beautiful. Oh, it's so sweet.
So sweet.
I could cry. He's like the sweetest little man.
And I understand why, like, she was really touched that they had been looking for her all this time. But she was just a kid. So I kind of understand why she hadn't, like, tried to reach out to them, because I'm sure she was like,
and
was
she
I
was
just
7?
a burden? Yeah, was I just a burden?
Yeah, she didn't
or
know.
Did they really want me there? Like, she's going to be confused about that situation. It was probably like she's literally walking around the country with her dad. Like,
Right.
that kind of just turmoil was going on. So it meant a lot to her that they actually did care about her and want to find her. But I
Yeah.
can understand why she hadn't, like, been looking for them.
Yeah, oh,
Because
absolutely.
She's not going to know.
And maybe she didn't even remember their names. Like,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
It was such a brief, she was there for 26 months, which is a while, but
She was also a little kid.
She was a little kid,
and she's not going to be able to sort that out.
So she was really happy to have discovered that all this time
So
they still wanted to find her, and she said, I was touched because they clearly cared about me when no one else did.
Yeah.
No one else would take them in. Her father, I don't know what was going on with him.
I'm sure he was trying his best, but...
Yeah, he just wanted to be with his girls, but he didn't have the means.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a really touching story. A great lost love.
Yeah, that's
100%.
a great one. Your mysteries in this episode, I think, were really good. Mine were kind of a little more boring.
Yeah, mine were pretty good. Should we rate it?
Yes.
Of? Okay. Mysteriousness.
Not that mysterious.
No.
No. Not really.
Even my first one that they call an unexplained death was like not
Pretty
that mysterious.
explained.
It's pretty explained. So a thumbs down for mysteriousness.
Yeah, I would say so, actually.
Reenactments?
Pretty good.
They were decent.
I think I really liked the ones during the Depression. I think those were well done. It really captured, I don't know, the, like, making a good life out of what they had.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It really captured how tight-knit the family was.
Yeah, so those were good. Actually, the reenactment of Dan shooting his supposed lookalike in the back of the head is full-on ridiculous. So I recommend that, even though it's terribly done. What else? I don't know.
A thumbs up for me for reenactments.
Sure,
I liked it. Fashion. The period fashion from the Great Depression was pretty good.
Yeah. Nothing super stands out to me, but it was good.
We could have used some, like, more rich old lady fashion.
Yes, absolutely.
We got a little bit.
Not enough.
Not
but
quite enough.
Still decent.
And they just put reenactment Dan Tundevold in that fucking golf shirt with the sweater over his shoulders the whole time, which I guess is supposed to be like, he's a rich person.
Yeah.
But that was ridiculous.
Rich people like to wear sweaters the wrong way. They don't know they can go over their head. They can only be worn on shoulders.
You can only wear them on their shoulders.
Yeah, so sure. Thumbs up, I guess.
Up. And Robert Stack.
He seemed to be taking stuff very seriously.
Yeah.
He brought the gravitas for sure.
Mm-hmm. At one point, he was, like, in a dimly lit area, and there was some fog coming out of, like, a hole in the ground.
Yeah, there was literally a fog
very
machine
strange.
going off screen, which I think is so Unsolved Mysteries. So, thumbs up.
Thumbs up. And then overall, what would you say? See, this is a very, like, half and half.
Yes.
Because your mysteries were kind of boring. My mysteries were really good.
I think your mysteries are really good, but I'm not sure they can carry the whole episode. So, I'm going to say 3.5.
I think 3.5 is good. Normally, I would love 2 lost loves in one episode, but yours was such a bummer.
Mine is a bummer.
There has to be a resolution. There needs to be a reunion at the end where I'm pretty bummed out about it. So a 3.5 seems fair.
And I just feel bad for that guy because he seemed really nice. And
I know.
even though he hadn't had any contact with his mother, he seemed really understanding of the situation. And just, I like that he's doing all this work for people on death row.
Yes,
And like,
absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm going to go with 3.5.
Are we ready for...
It's time for recommendations.
Recommendations.
Do.
We should have a special theme song right before
We
the,
really
the
should.
recommendations.
Recommendations.
There you go.
They're
Someone
here for you.
take these sound clips and make it into a theme song.
Recommendations.
That one was quality.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was. Well, I have a recommendation you're already aware of.
All right.
Because I thought I didn't have a recommendation, but then I was at Zine Fest. So I have an artist to recommend.
Oh, I got some stuff from this person. I can already tell.
This is Sarah Evanston. You can find her at sarah-evanston.com or at Salty Sweet Sarah. I assume that's on Instagram. This was one of my favorite people that was at Zine Fest because what? This is a masterpiece.
I got 3 of those so that I could give some as gifts.
I did too. So this is a little print of a Ouija board, but instead of the alphabet, it says "Life will not get any better," which is just so on brand.
And
for
there's
me.
no yes. It's just 2 no's
It's
and
just
then goodbye.
2 no's, goodbye. Life will not get any better. The sun and the moon.
Yep.
It's a masterpiece. It belongs in the Louvre. It cost me a whole $1.
$1. It was quite the bargain.
All right, if you've never been to a zine fest, there's more and more all the time. They're in lots of cities. There's not just around here. If you are shopping on a budget, zine fest is the place to be.
Oh, definitely.
Because this was literally $1. And you could just go and put this in like a little frame from Marshall's and you have a great gift.
Yes.
And how much would that cost you? Like $5.
Yes, it's amazing.
And
you're supporting a local artist.
And you're supporting this artist, and I just love this thing so much. It's perfect. I can't even decide where to hang it because it could go in like literally any room in my house. I also got this one that's some girls playing with a Ouija board, and it says, "Spirits, who has a crush on me?"
I looked through her zine that came from, which was like contacting the devil on a sleepover or something. It was quality.
Yeah, so good. So good. And I also got, similar to a conversation heart, she said these were conversation stoppers. And so I have a print that's literally just a heart and it says don't.
I got one of those too. I got 2 of those. I got the one that said don't and the one that said stop.
I think they're genius.
Yeah.
So, yes, this is like a local artist to our area, Sarah Evanston. I think she's doing amazing stuff. So definitely follow her on Instagram and buy like 5 of these Ouija board prints because everybody's going to want one. I think they're so cool. That's my recommendation for today.
That's a solid recommendation. So I'm recommending a subscription service that I thought a lot of people knew about, so I've never mentioned it before, but I talked about it at our last book club meeting, and a bunch of people had never heard of it. So I thought I would mention it because if you're a big reader, I think this is the thing for you. So it's called Scribd.
Yeah.
Scribd. I just this month canceled my Audible subscription. Because between Scribd and the library, I have found that I have all the books that I need.
Yeah.
Scribd is $8.99 a month, and it gives you an unlimited, quote unquote, I'm putting this in scare quotes, unlimited access to their digital library, which has millions of audiobooks and ebooks, and also various documents. My husband is learning how to play the piano right now, and he's used it for sheet music. So if that's something you do, that's something you can find on Scribd.
Aren't you also in Audible jail?
I'm in Audible return jail, which I don't know if I want to admit that, but
Okay,
apparently, no, it's fine. I'm bitter about it. It's one of the reasons why I started looking for an alternative to Audible was because they no longer let me return. Okay. So Audible
What
says,
happened to that guarantee, the good read guarantee?
yes, they have the great listen guarantee, my ass. Apparently, they get around this. So I emailed with someone at Audible that didn't understand my problem. But they basically, what I came to understand is that if you return too many books, which I don't even return that many books.
See, the thing, what's hilarious about me is that I literally abuse this system, and Samantha doesn't.
Yes, do I return books? Yes, but I don't return books that I've finished. Right?
Yeah, which I totally
It's very
have.
tempting because they have this great listen guarantee to finish a book and then
like,
get another,
didn't like it.
Yeah, get another credit for it. I don't do that. I will get like 10% into a book, decide I don't like it, return it.
Or sometimes just the narrator is terrible, or you go like, whoa, this was a bad choice, this book sucks.
And you only get like 2 credits a month.
Yeah.
So you don't want to spend it on a book that you don't like. So you can still return things, you just can't use the quick return, which means I have to like email or call Audible and say I want to have this book returned. So fuck Audible, fuck Amazon, fuck Jeff Bezos. I'm done. Scribd is $8.99 a month. I have not found many books I can't find on Scribd. And I say quote unquote unlimited because they do say that they can like temporarily restrict the amount of books within a 30-day period. But I've only heard of this happening to like booktubers that read like 1 million books a month.
Okay.
I rarely read more than like 4 books a month. So I haven't had
which is a lot.
Yeah, and you can get unlimited books with this. So
I think it would only come up, I mean, maybe if you're a student or something, but if it's something where they think you're They probably think you're sharing the account is what it is.
Yes, I think that's why. So they can restrict you in that. There's like some fine print. It doesn't say how many, but if you're suddenly downloading a ton of books.
It's like, that's weird. They read 50 books this month?
Yeah. So I think that can happen, but it probably won't happen to you if you're just a normal user of the system. I think it's great. The only thing I don't like about it is that if you have a Kindle Paperwhite or one that that's not a Kindle Fire,
okay,
you can't download books to your Kindle.
Oh, weird.
Because it's not supported. Like the Kindle Fire is like a tablet, so you can get the app and then you can read on your Kindle, but I have the Kindle Paperwhite, so I can't download ebooks to this. But I get ebooks from the library, so it's not a big deal. I primarily use Scribd for audiobooks, and it's wonderful. I have no problems with it. Some people say that it skips. I haven't experienced that issue. The other thing that I really like about it is you can create lists. So I have various lists of books that I want to read.
Oh, nice.
And it's not like Goodreads where I have to go back and forth. I have to see if I have an Audible credit. I have to decide if I want to buy it. I can just open my list on Scribd, find the book I want to read, click play, and then it plays. I think it's great. It's cheaper than Amazon. It's not Amazon. It's not Audible.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you pay, like $25 a month for 2 credits?
It's something ridiculous.
And then suddenly they can decide you can't return your books anymore. But Scribd is $8.99 and you get basically unlimited.
Yeah, and definitely check out your local library system. You might be surprised how many audiobooks they have.
Yes, absolutely. You can
and if your local library is not that big, definitely befriend someone in a bigger library system and get on that.
use their library card. The Overdrive and Libby are 2 apps that a lot of libraries are using, and you can just instantly download audiobooks or ebooks using those services. And unlike Scribd, you can send most books to your Kindle.
Yeah.
I think if you have a Nook, Scribd is supported on the Nook. So if you read ebooks that way, don't quote me on that, but I think you can use it. So between that and the library, I'm like, done with Audible.
You don't need Audible. Every so often on Twitter, someone who probably lives in Silicon Valley or something will say, I just don't understand why they haven't made Netflix, but for books. And then you go, it's called the fucking library, and it's free. That's why. Like,
oh my God.
It's like, no, but not like the library, though, like this. And then you go, yeah, the library does that.
Yeah, that's the library.
Yeah, the library has audiobooks. Yeah, the library has ebooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the library has space. You can just go for your book club.
Mm-hmm.
It has everything.
You can go take a computer class there.
The Hennepin County Library now has circulating zines. It's amazing.
Libraries are the shit. And
if anyone ever tells you that we don't need libraries anymore, spit right in their face. I hate it.
Yes. Be like...
Smack them with a big book.
Yeah.
It's not true.
No.
Because we need these audiobooks. But people need access to information.
Yes. They absolutely do.
God. Makes me so angry.
Support the library. Don't support Amazon if you can help it.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we watched Unsolved Mysteries on Amazon Prime, but
you can watch it on YouTube now.
You can.
You don't need them.
So maybe think about doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah!
That's my recommendation.
Anybody that was involved in the climate strike we just had, also, kudos to you.
Congratulations.
Pat yourself on the back if you did that.
Absolutely.
Is that all we got for today?
I'm pretty sure it is. Should we plug our shit?
Yes.
Okay. So, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's you.
If you have a spooky paranormal tale that you'd like to share with us, that's perhaps it's you podcast@gmail.com. We're not reading those yet. We are collecting all of them for the end of the season to do our spectacular listener stories episode. I love doing those. So if you have anything weird, creepy that's happened to you, we want to hear about it.
Absolutely. If you want to throw a few extra dollars our way, or even just $1 our way, patreon.com/perhapsit'syou. You can get bonus content every month. It's a pretty good deal. Yeah.
For $5, you get a PDF coloring sheet every month. That's something I whip up.
And yeah, it's pretty awesome. Sometimes we do fun extra things, like we do watch parties. When you're listening to this, we will have already done our How Far Is Tad Too Far watch party.
But maybe you want to be there for the next one.
At the time of this recording, we haven't done yet. I'm hoping it goes well. We'll see.
We'll see.
I put together the YouTube playlist yesterday, and many of them I have not seen yet. There's a lot of new ones out there. I hope they're not too offensive, or if they are, that we can still laugh at them. Yeah.
That's gonna be good.
That's the kind of extra cool stuff we do.
It's quality.
Yeah, quality.
Our Patreon is actually like a really good deal.
I think it is.
So we have a website, perhapsitsyou.com. Our episodes are on there if you ever need them, but we're also on Spotify. Spotify? Sure, that's the thing I'm starting, and we're on it. And, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You're already listening
Tell
to this.
a friend.
You
Give
already
us a
know.
5-star review on
We
iTunes,
need
Apple
more
Podcasts.
5-star reviews, but we only accept 5-star reviews. So get on there, tell us how great we are.
Or tell us how much we suck, but as long as you give us 5 stars, I don't care.
Yeah, that's also fine. And our ego needs it. We feed off those.
Really do.
It's our lifeblood. I think that's everything.
I think so.
Thank you.
Bye.
Solve some mysteries, bitches.
Bye.